Thank you for joining us on Newsday. In our top story, the residents of Jabo in Tambuwal local government area have raised an alarm over the discovery of an undetonated missile following strikes by the United States of America. A farmer on Friday had found the undetonated missile in his farm hours after another missile had exploded kilometers away. While the area has been cordoned by security agents to prevent access to civilians, military authorities say the weapon has been dug out and explosive experts will be working to safely detonate the device.
After the Thursday blast, on Friday, a farmer in our village decided to go to his cassava farm. There, he found an undetonated missile in his farm. He made an attempt to dig it out, but he couldn't, and later mobilized people, and they used rope around the undetonated bomb and used a camel to drag it out. And later, the traditional ruler of our community came and sent everybody away and invited security agencies who cordoned off the place and asked everybody to leave for safety.
Now, joining us live from Sokoto for an update is Arise Chief Correspondent Ferdinand Ora. Good afternoon, Ferdinand. What more can you tell us about this unexploded ordnance? Is it coming or was it fired from the American ship?
And on getting there, we did see some military personnel trying to cordon an area, and then when we asked, we were told about that particular ordnance. Yes, a missile that also fits the description of the other which exploded in another site, but this time around the difference is this is undetonated, and immediately the authorities had to walk. And so if you look around me, police personnel trying to provide some cover for some other persons, the military personnel from the ordnance team who are in there trying to work on it. Perhaps the scenario is trying to see if they can actually detonate it without any casualties. Now, also, if you take a look behind us, also, well, you will see the cordon, and of course, you will see that they have restricted access to the villagers. Well, the stories, surrounding it is quite laughable, and I say so because it's one quite From what we were told by eyewitnesses, a farmer found the device on Saturday afternoon, early evening, and then guess what? He called some other persons. They saw it, and then they tried to dig it out. I think you have that visuals. Perhaps you can indeed let the viewer there see it. They tried to dig it out, and guess exactly what happened? When they couldn't pull it out, they got a camel and then tied the rope to it. They got a camel, tied the rope to it, and tried to dig it out. Now, you just want to see that that's indeed calamity that was averted at that point, because if that had detonated, trust me, it would not have been a funny scenario. So that's exactly what they are working on. Just behind us, we have an ordnance team, and then we also have police personnel who have been able to provide some form of restrictions for the, just behind us, the villagers are still there. We're trying very hard to see exactly what they can get. And then also some other security personnel are using the opportunity to lecture these people at this point, to let them indeed realize that this is still an active situation. From what we have seen, it is very possible that there could still be another somewhere, and that's exactly how they are treating it. So they are informing the villagers, making them understand that this is the point where wherever you see, you have to let us know, and so that the experts can indeed come in like exactly what they are doing.
All right, Ferdinand, this is quite a very scary development, especially considering the fact that it is following the strike by the United States. What should residents expect in the coming hours, especially seeing that this is not a common phenomenon in that area? Ferdinand?
The village head, who did also tell us about, the community people would come in and do their daily business. Tambowal is an agrarian community, and just in front you have the residential area, and then behind you have these vast farmlands. Now, the explosion did happen some kilometers away, and then for this new one, it also fell in a farm, and it was discovered by a farmer who called some of his friends. They went there, dug it out. They saw that it was quite deep in the ground. They wanted to get it out. They tied it to a camel and tried to drag it out. Somehow, word spread out. The security operatives came in, and they have cordoned this place. And what they are doing right now is to sensitize the community. We hope that it is just these two. Don't forget, these are not the primary targets. The primary target is in Tangasa, where we hear that there is an active military operation taking place. However, for whatever reason, or for whatever reason, these missiles had dropped in some other places. Tambowal is some kilometers also away from Tangasa, but this is exactly where some missiles have dropped, and it is very, very essential at this point to educate people. That's exactly what the community heads are doing. That's exactly what the security operatives are doing. And for now, a second one was discovered just hours ago, and we hope it is the only missiles that are still undetonated in this environment.
Ferdinand, it's very concerning because you'd expect when it comes to precision strikes, there should be less of unexploded ordnances, in scenarios like this. You just mentioned the fact that a few miles away is where the primary target is, and we're seeing unexploded bombs or missiles where you are at the moment. So don't you think to a large extent the education or enlightenment of those people in Jabo should spread further beyond that region, where you are at the moment?
Well, Nii, let me disappoint you by saying that, yes, it's not just in Jabo. I totally agree with you talking about the enlightenment spread, and that's because from what we have heard from President Trump, well, they are not stopping anytime soon. Well, this might have been over, but they have said that, yes, if the attacks continue, there will be more attacks. And for today, we are in Sokoto State. Well, we hope that tomorrow there will be no reason for us to be in Zamfara, and there will be no reason for us to be in Kebbi or perhaps in Maiduguri or in Borno anytime soon, talking about going to cover attacks. And that is why I think at this point, the authorities must take it upon themselves to indeed do a very good job of informing the people. Well, also, whoever is carrying out the strike must also do due diligence. They must do due diligence to ensure that, yes, primary targets are locked in, and yes, casualties are reduced. Thank God that as regards this one, there's been no casualty recorded. Earlier on, when we went to the first farm where the explosion happened, there was no casualty. The second one, there was also no casualty. And from what we've heard from the Sokoto government, even in Tangasa, which is the primary target where a military operation is ongoing, well, there are also no casualties in terms of civilians. However, you can't write out the fact that, yes, if one is not careful, anything can go wrong. Well, from what we heard, well, this was carried out by an MQ-9 drone. And from MQ-9 drone, well, from what we were told by experts, well, it could carry a Hellfire, or perhaps it could carry a laser missile. Now, depending on it, you could begin to see if some of them will be accompanied by smaller ornaments, that can also explode. And so perhaps that's exactly the reason. But it is a learning stage. This is the first time since Nigeria's independence that, we're having another country carrying out such an offensive. Well, thank God, like the Nigerian government have indeed told us, that they were well aware about this particular situation. Right. But trust me, I want to believe that for things like weapons and others, they might not really have the full information. And that's exactly why they are trying very, very hard to look at this perhaps as a case study, see exactly what's going on, and then perhaps build a better synergy, better jointness with the Americans, so that in subsequent strikes we will be able to indeed follow up, we'll be able to indeed know exactly what is going on, so that we don't get taken unawares by farmers trying to dig up bombs that have not been exploded, and then begin to cause casualties or accidents.
All right, Ferdinand, thank you so much for the update on that very disturbing incident right there in Sokoto State. We hope that calm is restored as soon as possible. Ferdinand Roa is a Rice correspondent right there in Sokoto.